Hello BookTube, it's Ben here from the History Fair channel. Here today with another book haul, mainly from Pen and Sword Books. I think there might be one, I think there's one from Frontline Books as well. But I've got 10 books. They've turned up half an hour ago in the post, and I've just unboxed them. So it's kind of, you'll see them as I see them first time. And before we get on with the book haul, I'd like to say a big thank you to all those that wished me a happy birthday for yesterday. 48 I was yesterday, although mentally I feel 28, so that's a good thing. But I'm actually 48, but physically I feel about 68. I've had one of those busy weeks where it seems like with work that it seems like there's no stopping, and you kind of get home and you don't really remember anything about the day other than working. Get home, get your evening meal, sit down, watch a bit of telly, and then when you go to bed, you're asleep as your head hits the pillow. So it's been one of those weeks where it feels like I've been running around chasing my tail like a lost dog. But anyway, thank you very much for the birthday wishes. It's very much appreciated, and I thank you. And also I'd like to say thank you as well, because we've gained a few more new subscribers to the channel. You're all more than welcome. It's good to have you on board, and it's nice to see the channel sort of slowly growing. So hopefully we have more history buffs and book buffs joining us, and you're very welcome, and it's much appreciated to have you all on board. But anyway, enough waffle from me. Let's get on with these 10 books. Right, the first one looks a really good one to me, because it's called DDay, Arnhem and the Rhine. A glider pilot's memoir, written by Robert F. Ashby. And the reason I'm going to like this book is because it's about Market Garden, or Operation Market Garden, which is the Arnhem bit, and also you've got the good D-Day and the Rhine bit thrown in as well. But Operation Market Garden always fascinates me from World War II. It wasn't really a success for the Allies, but some of the stories and some of the heroes that have come out of it are just amazing, really. I just find it really fascinating. From the back of the book, it's got well-written, insightful and remarkably honest memoir of a glider pilot who took part in 3 major airborne landings during the Second World War. It vividly recalls the experience of a pilot whose specialised flying role has rarely been described before. A graphic record of the part played by military gliders in the airborne assaults launched on D-Day at Arnhem and during the Rhine crossing. Extended coverage of the intense fighting that followed the landings at Arnhem. And I just think the cover looks quite enticing, and also there's a little bit on the back as well. It just looks really good. I'm really looking forward to this one. The next one is a little darker, but there's another World War II. It's Images of Himmler, Hitler's Henchmen. And it's part of the Images of War series. Rare photographs from wartime archives, and this is written by Ian Baxter, who does lots of writing on World War II. Published by Pen and Sword, and $14.99 here in the UK. Really, these books are good because they're mainly photographic books, although there is a lot of history in them. But it's like double pages of. And you have the text as well, so it's fully supported. But they're really interesting books, and as you know, a photograph can tell you loads of information that the text doesn't, but they're just really good books, and they concentrate on different aspects of the World War II and operations and things that go on, but also specialises in different groups and also individuals that have famous individuals throughout the war as well, and it gives you a good kind of close-up of that person and what they were about, what they achieved, and how they got through the war. So obviously, you know, Himmler was a bit of a dark character, one of the top Nazi bods, so I mean it's probably going to be quite a dark book in places, but that's Himmler, Hitler's henchman. Oh, I should just say, for the first book, that was published by Pen and Sword Books, and that's priced at £20. I shall leave a link to Pen and Sword, the Pen and Sword Book website, in the details below this video. So if you fancy purchasing a copy of any of the books, then you can just follow that link and it'll take you to the book. The next one is The Men Who Flew Heavy Bombers, the US Air Force 4-engine heavies in the Second World War, and that's written by Martin W. Bowman. These books are kind of fascinating. He's a World War II historian who has written many books on the subject, and in this series he particularly concentrates on planes, but he looks at it from the viewpoint of the crew that flew the planes. And so I've also read he did The Men Who Flew the Electric Lightning and the Halifax Bomber, and there was another one as well which I can't quite remember, but I mean it's really interesting. He looks at the flying of the machines from the crewman's viewpoint and what they thought of things and how the war was going, so you kind of get it's another perspective on how the war went from another viewpoint, and he writes about them in all these books. But it's really good, or hopefully it should be really good. That's The Men Who Flew the Heavy Bombers, the US Air Force 4-engine heavies in the Second World War, written by Martin W. Bowman. £25, and that's published by Pen and Sword Books. Right, the next one is another World War II book, but on a very different subject. Here we have Women Interred in World War II Sumatra, Faith, Hope and Survival, written by Barbara Coombs. That's published by Pen and Sword Books and priced at £25. And I shall read you a little bit from the inlay. Thousands of women and children were among those who struggled to leave Singapore just before capitulation on February the 15th, 1942. Their hope was to reach safety. For many, that hope was never realised. Countless numbers drowned as ships were bombed and sunk on their way to safety. The lucky ones, who survived the onslaught of the ships, would become guests of the Japanese. Many of these would not live to see the end of the war. Two different women fleeing on those last ships and subsequently interned in camps throughout Sumatra were Margaret Dryborough, a missionary and teacher, and Sheila Brown, a secretary at the Singapore Naval Base. Their paths crossed briefly prior to the catastrophic events of 1942 and met again in internment. So, this might be a harsh read, something that's probably not going to be enjoyable to read. But it obviously follows these two ladies and their story. So that's The Women Interred in World War II Sumatra. let's do this one because that's more or less the same topic. The next one, we've got The Final Curtain, which is Burma 1941 to 45. Veteran Stories, written by Jeremy Archer. This is published by Pen and Sword Books and priced at £25 again. I'm going to enjoy this, I know, because I've been trying to find out recently more about World War II in the Far East. Just try and read lots of different stories, different actions. Like it says on here, veteran stories. Just, you know, the more information you can read and the more you get a knowledge of the topic and the more you can be engrossed in it. It's just going to be an interesting read and intriguing. From the inlay it says, The Final Curtain, Burma 1941 to 45, comprises interviews with some of the very few, comprises interviews with some of the very few surviving veterans of this most arduous of campaigns. In their own words, soldiers, sailors and airmen, now aged between 95 and 101, vividly recount the experiences they endured more than 75 years ago. This is the oral history of it at its best, from officers and men in the 14th Army, which comprised some 100,000 British and other Commonwealth personnel, 340,000 from the subcontinent and 90,000 East and West Africans. The interviewees include individuals from all these groups. Their accounts cover the retreat from Burma, the Chindit operations behind Japanese lines, and the hard-fought struggle in the Arnhem, the crucial battles of Kohima and the Imphal, and the final advance to Rangoon, culminating in a decisive victory. That's going to be good. The only problem I have is when you see veterans war stories, I've got no problem reading it, but when you see old soldiers and that being interviewed on documentaries or on the news and that sort of thing, and you see them get upset, God, it tugs at my heartstrings and it makes me all upset as well, because, I mean, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, all these brave soldiers and what they must have had to have gone through and what they saw and experienced, and they're probably still reliving now through PTSD and that sort of thing, must be astronomical, really, how much they're suffering mentally. So be an interesting read, this one, and I'm going to hopefully enjoy it. As long as I don't have to watch them, then I should be okay. Right, the next one is on a lighter story. This is called The World's First Football Star, or Football Superstar, The Life of Stephen Smith, written by Owen Arthur, and that's published by Pen and Sword Books, and it's priced at £25. Obviously a player probably from the Edwardian era, when football really kicked off in this country. The story of how Stephen and his brother William played against each other at the top of the Football League for Aston Villa and Wolves, respectively, and then teamed up to win trophies together at Portsmouth. Sheds light on an era when professional footballers worked other jobs in order to supplement their wages and feed their families. Explains how football came to be dominant in the UK due to an improvement in ordinary people's working conditions, wages and leisure time. Details the increase in earning power of footballers at the turn of the 20th century, and how working class men with a skill or trade could now command higher wages than ever before. The book shows how football has changed very little in the last 130 years, loyalty and amateurism being long gone even in the 1890s. So there we go, it's more about the turn of the century. Smith and his brother signed to play in the Southern League that surpassed the Football League in terms of wages, terms and conditions, in a similar fashion to the Premier League and the ill-fated ESL. And players looked to cash in on the popularity of the sport in the early 1900s. Actual conversations of key events in football and history, and Stephen and his brother's careers reconstructed from first-hand reports, accounts and family memoirs. And obviously I'm a big football fan because I'm a big Manchester United fan, so I shall enjoy reading that one. Oh, back when football it was in the old days. Right. The next book is called The Kennedy Assassinations. JFK and Bobby Kennedy, Debunking the Conspiracy Theories by Mel Ayton, who actually, I've read a book before. He wrote one about the Secret Service that guard the presidents. So it was really interesting. So this one should be good too. I've always had a fascination with the Kennedys because I remember at school we did like an assignment or something like that in English. And we got to watch all these videos about the Kennedy assassination and all that. And so ever since I've always been intrigued about what actually happened and all the conspiracy theories, and I like a good conspiracy theory myself. There are a couple of quotes on the back. Mel Ayton is a writer I found to be a valuable debunker of unwarranted conspiracy theorizing. That's on the New York Observer. Mel Ayton has a well-deserved reputation for doing the near impossible, writing about a controversial history, including conspiracy theories, in a sober but imaginative way, combining reliable accounts with intellectually stimulating arguments. I highly recommend his work, and that's from the History News Network. So yeah, I'm going to look forward to that. I like a good conspiracy theory. Excuse me. Now the next one is also totally different from the usual. The Son That Elizabeth I Never Had. The Adventurous Life of Robert Dudley's Illegitimate Son. Sir Robert Dudley, the handsome, base-born son of Elizabeth I's favourite, was born amidst scandal and intrigue. The story of his birth is one of love, royalty and broken bonds of trust. He was at Tilbury with the Earl of Leicester in 1587. 4 years later he was wealthy, independent and making a mark in Elizabeth's court. He explored Trinidad, searched for the fabled gold of El Dorado, and backed the voyage taking a letter from the Queen to the Emperor of China. He took part in the Earl of Essex's raid on Cadiz and was implicated in the Earl's rebellion in 1601. But what he wanted most was to prove his legitimacy. That's The Son That Elizabeth Never Had. The Adventurous Life of Robert Dudley's Illegitimate Son, written by Julia A. Hickey, published by Pen and Sword Books, and priced at £22. Right, just two more to go. Next one is about the Salvation Army, 150 Years of Blood and Fire, written by Stephen Huggins. Now, I asked to review this book because the Salvation Army is one of those organisations that's always around, but they're always kind of in the background helping people. So I don't really know much about the Salvation Army, but where I used to live previously, when I lived with my parents, there was a big Salvation Army area there, and all I ever heard was that, you know, they had a band, tried to do good things, and they didn't drink. So I've never really gained much more knowledge since then. So I thought, well, I'll review this book, give it a read, and then I'll obviously know a lot more about them. So that's The Salvation Army by Stephen Huggins, published by Pen and Sword Books and priced at £25. And the very last book is called A Tailoring Auschwitz, written by David Van Turnhout and Dirk Verhofstadt. Priced at £22 and published by Pen and Sword Books. Now, I've noticed in recent years there's lots of these books that revolve around the Jewish religion and Auschwitz. I've got another copy. I've got 2 copies that must be packed away in a box or something like that. But there's lots of different stories about Auschwitz, like you know, the daughter, the tattooist of Auschwitz, and the daughter of Auschwitz, and they're taking lots of different stories from Auschwitz that involve Jewish survivors or people who have managed to spend years in Auschwitz and they've come out obviously still alive. And I just find it unusual as to why the publishing world is sort of concentrating on Auschwitz, when previously we'd never heard of these stories before, up until the past couple of years. And now all of a sudden we have a dearth of these books coming out. This one on the back says, unique juxtaposition of historical facts and personal testimonies. An unknown piece of history has finally been given a face. Richly documented, including unseen photographs and primary sources. Exceptional collaboration of a scientific researcher and a relative of a survivor of the Holocaust. I mean, maybe it's just taken this long for people to kind of overcome and become free of what actually happened to them or their relatives, and now they want to tell their story to the world through books, which I have no problem with, and it's great. It's, you know, what happened, what the Jewish people had to go through during World War II is abominable and sickening, really. But it's good that, you know, these people are out telling their stories now. So that's A Tailoring Auschwitz. It should be an interesting read and probably a big tearjerker. So there we go. Tell me if you fancy reading any of those books, or maybe you have read one of those books already. Let me know your views and opinions in the comments down below. And like I said, below this video I'll leave a link to the Pen and Sword website. So if you fancy any of the books, then just follow the links. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. I've gone on a bit longer this time for some reason. But thanks very much for watching, it's greatly appreciated. And if you've enjoyed the video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. And there definitely will be a couple of more videos, because I know the videos have been a little bit sparse lately, but there will be some more this week. In fact, I've got a few hours off this one. I'll probably do a couple of more now. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I hope you're all well and enjoy your family time. So thank you very much, and goodbye.